How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be a bit of a different one as we look at Trickster's new buff as well as some suggestions for perks and add-ons you should try using if you want to play some buffed up Trickster. Boys, by the way, I just want to say before we get into it, I'm not an instant player, I'm not fucking OTS. I'm very far from it. I'm a survivor main, or at least I like to say so. But using this build on a pre-buffed Trickster has been pretty viable for me, I'd like to say, in red ranks. So it should hopefully be able to help you guys out too. Also, just a quick reminder, boys, we do have a shorts channel with clips every day, as well as a Twitch where I stream almost every day. If either of those interest you, please check them out if you have the time. Thanks. Love you. Let's get into the vid. So, boys, in the mid-chapter TTB patch notes about Trickster's buff, we did find out the following. Trickster would now only need 6 knives to damage a survivor instead of 8, so obviously less knives, easier to damage people, quicker chases, it's all good. A few adjustments to the laceration decay, most notably less delay before the decay starts, as well as an increased rate of decay, so a bit of a nerf there for Trickster, but it's just balancing it out, I suppose. Main event's seen some changes. These include the reduced activation time, as well as the amount of time you can hold main event before using it, which has gone up from 30 seconds instead of only 10. This is important because this means you have 3 times the amount of time to get into an effective position to use that main event, and therefore you're less likely to waste it at all. It means you can get around that corner, then use it, and obviously more effective to actually hit your shots with it. On the subject of main event, the add-ons Lucky Blade and Waiting for You Watch have been completely reworked, so they actually now extend main event's duration after hitting a survivor during main event. So you use your ability, as long as you keep hitting knives, essentially you can keep using main event infinitely as long as you're hitting knives. Melodious Murder's also been reworked. It now, instead of reducing the number of knives that Trickster needs to down someone or damage someone, because that would be a bit overpowered having it being lowered anyway. It's now been reworked to give Trickster increased reload speed at lockers, kind of similar, well, basically identical to Huntress's deerskin gloves. And finally, 2 of Trickster's teachable perks have also been buffed. No Way Out will now start with a base time of 12 seconds, with bonus time for each token being up to 12 seconds as well. It will also only now activate once a survivor interacts with an exit gate for the first time, which will also give the killer a noise notification. Crowd Control also received a really simple buff to just increase the time a window stays blocked for, going from a max of 14 seconds to a max of 20. Now that we know what the reworked add-ons do, which of them should you actually be using, boys? Personally, I'm a fan of the Fizz Spin Soda add-on, as it grants you an increase to your initial throwing rate, which proves very useful when a survivor uses a vault or a pallet during a chase, because this means they're locked into an animation mid-vault, and therefore they're a lot of an easier target for you to hit with your knife, so the more you can actually just get throwing in that time, the better, you know? Other than this, I'd say the other add-ons very much more up to your player preference. Obviously, the iridescent add-ons are usually always going to be good. And the recent buff has granted the iridescent photo card a buff as well, which now inflicts the exposed effect on survivors 2 or less blades away from the max, rather than just 1 blade or less. The trick blades are also fun for anyone who's played Hanzo when scatter arrows was still a thing. Well, they are extremely effective on indoor maps such as Midwich or Larry's. The Bloody Boa add-on's decent if you just want more knives, and the new Melodious Murder's good for anyone who'd rather not use a perk slot on Iron Maiden. Speaking of perks, I like to run 3 perks myself quite consistently on Trickster. They're your very typical killer perks. Shouldn't really be a surprise. It's Barbecue, Ruin, Pop. I'm not sure I really have to explain what they do and why they're good to have, but just for a quick summary, Barbecue lets you see other survivors after getting a hook. Ruin's going to give you gen regression on gens that no survivors are working on, and it's good for general gen regression, whereas Pop, as a backup to Ruin, if that gets cleansed, you then have more focused gen regression. And for the 4th perk, I like to run a few different ones. And so far, these are my favourites. Obviously, they're very much maybe situational or up to your preference. These 3 are the 3 that I personally like to use alongside Barbecue, Ruin, and Pop. So there's Franklin's, I find, has been quite useful for me for those toxic swifts that have about 17 fucking flashlights between them. Just because they don't need any more help. You're playing Trickster, they don't need any help off items. Blood Favor has actually been quite a fun one to use, the Blight perk, as it allows you, as Trickster, if you hit the survivor with your basic attack, obviously they speed away. If they try running up to a pallet to try and use that to put distance between you and them, Trickster's already slow as is, being a ranged character, so that pallet in your way is just gonna fuck your shit up. So with Blood Favor, it means they can't drop it, which makes it a lot easier for you to obviously either catch up, another basic attack, very simple, or actually just use your knives without having an extra object in the way during your chase. And then finally, I'd say Undying, just because if your Ruin's just getting cleansed over and over, you have that extra bit of protection to have it last a bit longer before you have to start using Pop, which is still pretty decent. But yeah, boys, so from my personal experience, I'd say so far, Barbecue, Ruin, Pop, and Blood Favor, or even Undying or Franklin's, are actually my favourite build at the moment. I'd probably say use the Fin Spin Soda, and the Trick Blades, I think, are probably the most fun add-ons, if I'm being honest. So try out some Scatter Arrow Hanzo, bring yourselves back to, what, maybe 2016? I don't know. 2016 Overwatch, that is, not Dead by Daylight, Jesus. But boys, if you made it this far, I really fucking appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support, and if it wouldn't trouble you, please go drop a like on the video, because it really helps out. And hey, if you're down there, you might as well subscribe, you know, like, the button's right there. If it's red, just give it a click. But nah, really, thank you for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one. Peace.
But when we are